it's Carrie from Classic Cottage Art and Antiques in Bowling Green, Virginia, and tonight I'm in the craft room and we're going to make jewelry. But first, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you do so. Just hit the subscribe button down below. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. So we're going to make earrings in a not your usual way of making earrings. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Come on down and let's get started. So the first set of earrings I'm going to show you how to make are from simple buttons. I mean, you can find a lot of different buttons. This one has been cut off of a garment. And what you're going to want to look for are the buttons that have what's called the shank on them. The shank is, let me get it turned around for you. There you go. There you go. There's the shank right there. And what's going to happen is you're going to want to cut that off because we're going to glue it to a finding. A finding is basically just the hardware that you attach jewelry to. Okay, so what you're going to want to do first is find a button that has a shank. I like those the best. And there's different ones you can find. There's like this one. You can find them on clearance sometimes. You can find holiday ones. You can find plain ones like this. But the first thing you want to do is find some cutters. Now these cutters are typical of any kind of like side cutters, wire cutters. And you might find them in your tool chest. You can take wire cutters. This is what I have on hand. And I'm going to simply cut the shank off. The staple is just where it was attached to the card. And cut it as close to the button as you can. My cutters are a little bit dull, so it might take a little bit longer. Don't use your good cutters for this because it might not be too good for them. There we go. Okay. Now, there's still as you can see, a rough part. What you want to do is you want to flatten this out as much as possible. Now to do this, I'm going to try and get a little bit closer with the cutters. And it's not going to get any flatter, but that's okay, not a problem. This is plastic. These are plastic buttons. You can also, sometimes in older buttons, you can find the shank is metal. Make sure you use a metal cutter for that, like something like this would in fact probably cut metal as well. Just don't use your good cutters, like I said. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take sandpaper to flatten this out even further. To do this, I usually put it on a flat surface. Let me move it over here. Put it on a flat surface and just go back and forth. And this should be soft plastic, so it should be just fine. And it may take a few times. And this is probably 120 or 100 grit sandpaper. The rougher the sandpaper, the better, because it'll take less time. Some of the buttons, especially the older ones, are very dense, hard plastic, so it takes a little bit longer. And this one's going to take a little while, so I'm going to use a file on it. You can also use a jewelry file. And very carefully, try not to cut up the edges though. But you can also file it smooth. The goal here is to get the back as flat as possible so it will attach to the finding really, really well. Gonna use the sandpaper again. I'm gonna use a little bit. You're going to want to put this on a hard surface. My surface is a little bit spongy, so it's not going to make it flat. But you want to make this completely flat on the back so it will attach to the finding, the earring finding. So the earring finding in this case is a flat back post type earring. I think they call it like an ear stud flat pad. And this one just happens to be surgical steel here. And then what you're going to do is you can either take 5-minute epoxy or E6000. I tend to use the epoxy just because it does tend to hold better. And all you have to do then is attach it, glue it together, and you've got an earring. So I've got some examples of ones that have already been done. This is actually a polymer clay bead that I made. These are some fun holiday earrings that I had. Buttons, flattened and glued onto the back. Aren't those cute? And here's one more. So that's one way of making earrings. You take a button, cut off the shank, flatten it with sandpaper or a file, and then glue it to your backing. And then you have a really fun earring where you didn't have to know how to make jewelry. So that's one way of making earrings. Very simple, fairly quick. The second way of making earrings is with charms. Charms are so cute, and if you get a couple of charms, as a matter of fact, let's use these because I have a bunch of these. This is so simple, it's crazy. So you need your charms, you need 2 charms. And you need some earring findings again. I'm going to go ahead and use these Fishhook Earwires. Just like that. And my charms, they have the little hook on the loop on the top. Now, you can do this in a variety of ways. I'm going to show you the non-jewelry tool way to do this. You're going to hold your ear wire, support it on your finger right there, and you can take a pair of tweezers. So what you're going to do is you're going to move this up way. What you're going to do is you're going to pull this little loop here towards you. Very gently, you're going to pull it towards you with your tweezers so it looks like this. You never pull it open this way because then it will not go back in shape and it won't hold its shape. So you're bending it towards you, up or back, whichever is easier for you. And then you slide your charm on. Now what I like to do is hold it up here like I'm going to wear it. And then I'm going to attach the charm so it faces forward. If it doesn't, no big deal. I can always turn it around. Get it on there. There we go. And there I have one earring. Of course, now I have to close the loop. So I'm going to turn it back over here. And this time I'm going to push it back in the opposite direction. I'm going to take hold of it and push it back down to where it started. And now I have an earring. So I'm going to show you that one more time. Now if you do happen to have jewelry pliers, I'll show you the way to do it with the jewelry pliers. You'll take your jewelry pliers and do the same exact thing. I'm going to support it with the pad of my finger here. And I'm going to take the loop, so you can see it here. And I'm going to pull it toward me. Just the loop part. Can you see that? Just the loop is pulled toward me. Okay, and then I'm going to put my charm on. I'm going to hold it up so I can see which way it's going to go. I'm going to put my charm on like so. And then I'm going to take my pliers and push it back down. I kind of give it a little bit of a wiggle just so it kind of goes back in place. And now it's a nice earring. And now I have a pair. just that quick with just charms. And you can do this with any charm that has a loop at the top. For example, you could do it with something like this, something like this, cute little cat. Any of these things that have the loop at the top. All you need is a charm and an ear wire, and you're good to go. Here's a larger charm you might can see a little better. All you need is an ear wire and a charm. And you're going to take the loop on the ear wire and you're going to pull it towards you. Then you're going to put the charm on. And we're going to turn it back down. Super simple. And then you've got a really cute earring. Let's do that again. You can also use a pair of tweezers to open your loop. Pull it up. Put your charm on. Make sure it's going the right way. And then turn it down. I might give it a little wiggle to make sure it's going right where it's supposed to. And there you go. It's a lot easier. You get more control with these, but if you need it in a pinch, you can use your tweezers. So that's the second way to make earrings without really having any jewelry making experience. Now here's a third way, because I like to give you options. A third way is to take some chain. And again, we're going to need some ear wires. And if you're going to use chain, make sure you use chain that has open loops like this. There are chains that are more tightly woven that don't allow for this. You're going to need your cutters again. And you're going to decide, well, how long do I want this to be? Let's see. Let's do this one on the darker mat so you can see. Okay. Now you might just want one length of chain in there, or maybe 2 or 3. I think I'm going to determine how long I want this chain to be for my earring. Let's say about right here. So I'm going to cut the loop below the length I want. Okay. There is my length of chain. I'm going to get rid of the one that I don't want. Okay. So I want my chain to be that long for my earring. But before I attach it, I'm actually going to make sure it's the same length for the other one. So for that, I like to take a thin piece of wire and do this to make sure they're the exact same length. I know now that I need to cut this one here, because you don't want earrings to be 2 different lengths, although you may. So now my length of chain is exactly the same. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my ear wire. I'm going to go ahead and use my pliers, but you could use your tweezers if you didn't have pliers. Now, if you're going to use pliers, make sure the pliers, see, mine are taped so they don't mar the metal. Make sure they don't have any teeth in them. Make sure yours are flat, made for jewelry, or otherwise it will eat up your metal. So I'm going to take the loop again. I'm going to pull it up toward me, just to open it enough to get it to where I can get that chain on there. I'm going to put it right there. Oops. And I'm going to push that little guy back up. I'm going to take the loop and I'm going to turn it back down. Again, I like to give it a little bit of a wiggle just to make sure. And just like that, we have an earring. And then I would do it again on this side. Going to open up the loop by pulling it toward me. Going to attach the chain. And if that little guy gets down in there, that's no big deal. Just kind of move it out the way. And just like that, I have a pair of earrings. Super simple, super fast. And all you need is some chain and ear wires and something to a cutter and something to open the loop. Whether it be tweezers or whether it be pliers. Super simple. Okay, so that's the third way to make earrings without beads. If you look at it, we're not even using beads for this. And the fourth way of making earrings, you're going to need 2 of these flat crimps. These are 5mm flat crimps, and you're going to need some 5mm leather lace, faux deerskin or deer tan lace or whatever. This time you're going to need a pair of scissors because you're going to want to start with a straight cut. All right. I'm going to take this. I'm just going to put it across there. Actually, I'm going to cut a length first. Let's cut a length first. Oops. How long do I want these? It's up to you, actually. So what you really want to do is, let's see how long we want to record this. Okay, there's that. Let's do this. Now you can leave it flat or you can make a real pretty end. I don't know. Let's if I'm going to make a pretty end, I'm going to do it together. Like so. Let's move all this out the way. Okay. And I'm just going to maybe angle it. Might be a good idea to cut longer, so if you don't get the right angle the first time, you can just keep cutting until you do. That'll work. Okay, so those are my pieces of lace or deer tan lace or whatever, or faux. You can actually do this with ribbon, although this is probably a better weight. If you do it with ribbon, it might be a little too floaty and may not hang quite right. So I'm going to take my little flat crimps. And I'm going to put it right in there. This happens to be the exact right size. And now I'm going to need a pair of pliers. Because it's a little difficult to crimp this with just your fingers. So a flat nose plier, a chain nose plier, or again, if you're going to find pliers in the garage, make sure they don't have teeth in them. And if this thing... I think this came from Harbor Freight, so sometimes they have the kinds with no teeth in them too. Or jewelry making pliers are good. So I'm going to take it and I'm just going to squish it. You can put glue, but you don't really need to for this. It's not like it's going to. And I usually turn it over and give it one more little. Make sure it's all nice and straight. While I'm doing it, I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. Show you one more time. You can also use your flat nose pliers that you used for your loops. I wouldn't use your tweezers on this unless there's some you don't really care about. This is a little bit tougher metal. Just going to squeeze it. Okay, we got that. And once again, we need ear wires. And you can use, you know, any color ear wires that you want. I made these, so you could use those. You could mix your metals. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and mix the metals. You might be able to see me twist the loop a little better. I'm going to mix the metals here. I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull it up. Oops. I'm supporting it with this finger and I'm pulling it up. I'm going to sit it up like this so I can see, and then I'm going to put my component. We're going to call this a component. Now see, that's the wrong way. Turn it this way, because that's how it's going to hang when you wear it. Then I'm going to support it on my finger again, and I'm going to turn the loop back down to meet the metal. There you go. So just like that, you've got another earring. Let's do that one more time. So we're going to support it with this finger, and we're going to pull it up. We're going to put the component on there. There we go, like so. And then we're going to push it back down. And just like that, there's a fourth way to make earrings with very little, actually with no beads. So there you go. Charms, leather and flat crimps, chain, and buttons or clay. Super simple. Just remember, make sure your backs are flat when you do that. And there you go. Super simple ways to make earrings without beads. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video on making super simple earrings in 5 minutes or less per pair, and I hope you're going to give it a try. So until the next video, have a great day.